guys, welcome back to the Tukes and Tires YouTube channel. As always, I'm Zach, and once again we're working on my 1954 Chevy pickup, getting it ready for Hot Rod Power Tour, and we're installing this new gas tank. And we're buttoning up some stuff in the cab, like some creature comforts, like cup holders, because you gotta have them. And we're installing this rugged radio intercom system for the drive, so let's get after it.
Hey, is that Timmy's?
Yeah, because we're in Canada. So as you already heard, the majority of this video is we're going to be doing creature comforts like, you know, installing gauges and installing a rugged radio in my truck. But if you haven't watched the last episode, definitely go do that. At this point, we're, I think, less than 20 days away from Power Tour. But in the last video, we did a whole bunch of basically mechanical stuff. So we checked oils and we did back brakes and made sure that this truck was going to be 100% okay for the road trip. But we do have one last big ticket item to install on the truck. We have to install a new gas tank. So I'm going to get the truck in the air so I can show you guys the setup that I have underneath this truck. So let's get it in the air so we can start checking that out and see if we can get the new one installed. So we got the truck up in the air now, and you can see that we have a custom setup going on with this gas tank back here. But originally the factory gas tank would have been behind the seat in the cab, but I needed to move the seat back to gain some leg room, and I didn't want to be smelling gas all the time, so we had to do something else. So I'm doing a couple different things from factory than this tank originally would have had. So originally on the 57, this would have just been a fuel drain, but I'm using it as a fuel pickup, and I made a custom little tube setup where that actually goes up into the tank about 1/2 inch. So it's just pre-filtering any kind of crud that would go through the main line there and giving our fuel filters the best chance they got of surviving. The other thing is I repurposed the fuel filler from the side of the cab on the truck, and it's just mounted on the bed there. And I just got some rubber hoses that go over the frame to a custom coupler that's brazed into the side of the tank. So we are going to be making up a new one of those for the new tank, so you guys will get to see that. And the only other thing is I'm just running a universal fuel level gauge and the sender to go with it. Nothing fancy there, but unfortunately, like an idiot, I put about 10 gallons of gas into this tank before doing this, so I gotta drain out all that gas out of here so we can get it out of here. So I'm gonna start doing that, and then we'll compare the old tank to the new one and see what we gotta make up to fit up that new tank in here. So let's get after it. Dad, how's she going?
Not bad, not bad. All that free gas.
The free gas you're gonna get? We're only on the first bucket. New setup. Got this long hose on there. Oh, looks like we're coming to an end. We got almost 2 buckets. Look at that thing. Oh, yeah. Not too shabby. Lacey, what's happening? Just got up, didn't you? So we got the tank out of the truck, and it's pretty dirty, but basically the whole top of this thing is like fiberglass patched up. It was like that when I got it, but this is the original thing that me and Dad made on there with like a vent tube and all this other kind of crazy jazz. But we got the new tank here, and it has its own vent. I think somebody just either chopped that off, or I don't know what they did with that thing. But that's pretty sweet. So all we have to do is make up just an adapter to come off of where the original filler would have been on the 57 tank. And I don't know where Dad put it. He just walked away with it. But we bought, there we go. This is just a exhaust fitting, or whatever you want to call it. It was the closest thing we could find to the diameter in here, which had to make a little relief cut to make it slide in there. And then this should fit the hose that we have over on the truck. So we're just gonna braze this thing in there and then see if we can fit the tank. I think it should work out pretty sweet. Then all I gotta do is transfer over some fittings from this tank and the sender, and then we'll be sliding that thing back in. Lacey, what's going on? Oh, going for that extra boat. Oh, brutal. Got him. Right there. Let me. No. Yeah. That's looking pretty neat. Dang. Look at that freaking weld. That thing's sick. So we started making up this thing, and me and Dad were, we just weren't happy with it, and it just wasn't turning out the way we thought it was gonna. And this fitting was only like $6, so it's not a total loss. Who knows? We might use it with something else someday. And then I was thinking, I was like, hey, we should look outside. You never know what might be laying around. And the old filler was sitting there from the Blazer, so we ended up hacking the end off of that thing. And then it started to look something like this. So it's got a nice little barb on it for a hose clamp. It's all braced in there, so it should be, nice and sealed up. So we're going to go and try to throw it in the truck. We're going to throw the other stuff from the other tank in it just quick. And then we'll come back to once it's in the truck. But this is looking pretty wicked. So we got that new tank all finished up and installed in here, and it's looking pretty sweet. That extension tube worked out pretty perfect, and I splashed some paint on it, so it basically looks factory. We dumped about 10 gallons of gas back into here, and none of the braze leaked, so that's pretty sweet. And the vent on there works really perfect. I don't get any splashback anymore, so I'm really happy with that. With this little pickup tube here, before I had the rubber line coming underneath, so I just tidied things up just a little bit. I did have to TIG up this custom fitting because they got some kind of weird metric thread going on into the bottom of this tank, so I just found something that went into there, and then I just TIGged on a -6 90, so it looks nice and tidy under here now. I did get the sending unit all hooked up, and I know I forgot to show that, so I do have another one here. I just made this up as a spare. This is just some kind of cheapy thing you can buy online or at Princess Auto, and it just goes up and down, and it has the 5 bolt holes just like this tank has, so that's how that works. But I did change out some filters under here and up top, so now everything's basically brand new on the fuel system. All the rubber lines seem to be good. So I did buy some other ones, so I'm going to just bring those with us just as spares, because you never know what I might need or somebody else might need, so just be really prepared there. But this thing's looking pretty well done underneath, so I think what we're going to do is get Dad's wagon out of the way, switch everything back around so we can start installing some of that stuff into the cab. So let's get on it. So a couple days have went by. We got Dad's wagon back on the hoist, and my truck's sitting here, so it's going to be a little bit easier to work on to do some of the creature comforts in the cab. But I've been driving this thing a whole bunch, and the gas tank has been awesome. Nothing's leaked. The vent on there, it's been super cool to fill that up. It doesn't splash back anymore, so I'm really happy with that. But what I think we're going to try to work on first here is we're going to see if we can get the temperature gauge out of here and put the new one in. We are going to have to, figure out how I did this, because this is almost 10 years later of me actually building this thing. So, you know, we're gonna do some archaeology in here. And then just a few other things is we just have the shifter boot to throw on. And then I bought this cup holder off of Amazon. It's kind of a fold away deal. We're just gonna slap 2 of those on either door, probably somewhere about there, just so we got somewhere to put our drinks while we're cruising. And then we're gonna be moving on to the rugged radio. So I'm gonna button this stuff up, and then we're gonna try to figure out that rugged radio. So wish me luck on figuring out how I built this thing. So we got the main portion of that gauge out of the dash, and it made it a lot easier to look around in here. And then all that this bezel, when I made it, it was just crimped around just like factory. So all I had to do was like split that off, and that allowed me to slip the gauge out of there. I know you guys can see that's kind of hard. But now all I gotta do is I gotta feed the new gauge through, making sure that I put the locking nut on the backside, and then I can just run the line out to the engine. And I just hacked the other one off because it was no good. I do not like that all my other gauges are just half gauges and then this one's a full one, but I mean, it's probably better off for the temperature gauge, but just preference wise, I don't like the way this looks. It's a cheapie though, and it should work. Okay guys, so we got all the small things all buttoned up in the cab. I'm really happy with the cup holder placement. You can still open the vent window with the drink in there, slam the door, and even use my up and down switch for the power windows, so that's cool. We got the shifter boot installed, so hopefully no longer smelling fumes in the cab. And we got the gauge all put back together. Hopefully that's gonna work. I haven't tested it yet because I don't like to drain the rad, so I just do the old switcheroo with the sending unit. I just take the old one out and stick the new one in, so coolant gushes everywhere, but such is life, and it's a lot easier than draining the whole rad. But now what we're going to do is going to try to get this one last big ticket item off the list. It's the rugged radio intercom system. My truck is really loud, so I figured after about 10 hours of driving, you're going to be tired of yelling at your passenger, not being able to hear them, so this is going to save that. I originally bought this for the C1 Chevy build, the street legal stock car, but we can use it in this for now and see if we actually like it. This is it was an on sale kind of deal. It was under their overstock items. So we're going to go over everything in the kit that came with it. So they have 3 options for headset systems. They have a built-in for actual helmets. They have a behind the head strap and an over the head strap. So I'm most comfortable with an over the head strap, obviously from using headphones and stuff like that. So I went with that. It's carbon fiber and it's got a volume switch on the side, so it's a pretty slick little deal there. It came with all the wires to actually connect the headset system to the intercom and all the little doodads to go with that. It also came with this push to talk button, so this is actually for talking to another car. So I didn't buy a CB radio or anything to do that, but what we're going to be using is this little adapter thing to actually hook up a walkie-talkie to that. I have 4 walkie-talkies, so we're just going to hand them out to the friends that we're driving with. So we'll be able to wear the headset system and actually talk to them. So that should be pretty cool. And then we have the actual head unit itself. So this thing is Bluetooth. You can connect your phone to it, make phone calls, listen to music. It has a auto dim function, so if you're actually listening to music and want to talk to your passenger, it will do that automatically and you don't have to worry about it. It's got a nice little on and off switch here on the back, so it's got a nice little click. It's got all the buttons to control your music volume and all that, pause. It came with the instructions on how to install it, power cord. It's got a fuse already on the back, and it came with this universal little bracket kit. So what we're going to do is just slam this thing up underneath the dash. So let's get after it. Okay guys, so we got this whole thing installed in the cab. There wasn't much like to show how hard it was. It was actually pretty easy, so I figured we'd just talk about how it went. Just got my main cords running for the actual headset system running along the floor there, and then come up behind the seat. There's enough play on them so each driver and passenger feel pretty comfortable. The power and the ground for this, they want it directly to the battery. I did the best I could. I have a main positive and negative cable coming into the cab, so I just hooked to that. They want it directly to the battery because they might get interference through the intercom system, some kind of noise. I haven't heard anything so far with just testing it, so I think it's gonna be fine. But other than that, plugging into the back of the unit with all the wires is like super easy. They're all labeled, so it's, you know, pretty much anybody could do it. I am going to show you with the two-way radio plug just how simple it is. This one is just a little different. It's on a cord. The other ones are just kind of nut and bolted into the back of this unit, but they're basically the same. So it just has like a little indicating plug, and you can disconnect these at any time if you want. So you just got to find out where it goes together, and then it just snaps just like that. I'll tuck that up away so that you don't see it, but it's just that easy. I put my push to talk buttons. This is the passenger one. I have the driver one here. They seem pretty comfortable for wherever you're sitting. I know Kenny might take his off there, so I made it so that you could take it out because he might be taking some rolling shots of cars and stuff. And if we need to talk through the two-way radio, I think that's just going to be easier for him. And that's what that is for, is to talk to other vehicles. Otherwise, it has an auto dim function for just the passenger and driver, and that works really well. I did have my phone hooked up to it with like the Bluetooth, so music plays awesome through it. The volume switch on the headset works really great, and it has a sensitivity for the auto dim. So there's just two switches here. The outer one is for the volume itself through the headphones, and then the other one is just for the auto dim, so you just adjust it to wherever you want it. I still need to run the truck to see if it's going to be okay for where I set it, but so far it works really awesome. So to show you guys that it's going to work and that it does work, I think the easiest way is to set you guys up on the tripod on the outside of the vehicle, set you in front of the other two-way radio, and I'll actually wear the headset and talk through it, and you should hear me through my other two-way radio. So we'll get that set up so you guys can see that it works. So you probably can't hear me right now, but if I push the button, you should be able to hear me right now through that two-way radio. So this works pretty wicked. We've tried to walk with a walkie-talkie as far as we could out the driveway, so it has a really awesome range. I don't think I need much more than this kind of walkie-talkie, but in here, it works really well with the music, so I'm going to take that as a win. So everything in the cab has turned out pretty awesome. I thought I'd give you guys a closer look just before we end off this video. So the cup holder placement's super cool. I'm really digging that. They're really nice that they fold out of the way, and they're really heavy duty, so that's what I was looking for. So shout out to those. They came up as metal cup holder on Amazon, so if you're looking for that, that's how to find that. Everything else in here is looking pretty cool. I just have the wires ran there on the ground in a loom that come up to the back here for the headsets. I got lots of room on these for moving them around, so hopefully we're going to be pretty comfortable. That new gauge, I have no idea if it works yet, but we're going to find that out here shortly when I actually go to fire it up. That's going to be off camera, so you'll know in the next one if it actually works. Lacey, what do you want to try the headset on? No, you just want to go for a drive? She doesn't like driving in vehicles. Don't you? Huh? Yeah. But everything in here is looking pretty sweet. If you guys want to know the information on this instructions, we'll get Lacey's help here. I thought I'd show you guys this. So hopefully anybody can read that. That's just the universal for the rugged radio. Pause it if you need to. Then the only other thing is what they wanted is for the push to talk button, they wanted you to do this relief loop. I didn't do that just because, like I said, we're not in any kind of four-wheel drive application, so I think it's going to be fine just because, you know, we're just puttering around. We just want to be able to hear each other. Definitely shout out to all you guys that have commented on the last video on what I should bring. Huge shout out to the guy that said TP, because I didn't even think about it, but you know, you gotta have it. But definitely comment down below anything else that I should bring. I do really appreciate the comments. Hopefully next time you see us, we're actually going to be probably preparing what we're going to be bringing on Power Tour, and then we're going to be heading out on the road trip. I think I'm just going to do a whole video on the whole thing, so that will come out probably after this one. Hey, don't be scratching the seat. You know, we got to keep the leather nice, Lacey. You can lay there. Awesome. Definitely follow along with the next video because it's going to be super cool. Let me know what you'd want to see from Power Tour, vehicles and whatnot down below, because I think, you know, there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff there, so I'm really looking forward to it. But I think that's going to do it for now, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing, and as always, don't forget to salute the beaver.